Welcome to 69th Base with Doug Mellard. I am Doug Mellard, and this is the podcast where I tear into idiots like Skip Bayless, Will Kane, Jason Whitlock, Rob Parker, and plenty more of these idiot talking heads in the sports world that pretend to have a clue as to what they're talking about when clearly they do not. We're going to have a lot of fun ragging on all these guys. We'll get into why Will Kane is being a homer yet again. We'll dive into an idiotic take that Jason Whitlock had. We'll talk about Carson Wentz versus Dak Prescott yet again. We'll have some early NFL predictions from myself and my guests, as well as a deep dive into some people Twitter trolling Skip Bayless, which is always a good time. But first, I'd like to get you caught up in my world just a little bit and tell you a very revealing and embarrassing story. I don't care. If you're familiar with my stand-up comedy, you know that I have an album, Fart Safari, and a second album called Fart Safari 2, Fart Harder. And Fart Safari 3, Fart Hard with a Vengeance, will be taped this November. So, yeah, I am not afraid of some fart jokes. And so I'm just going to tell you this story. This is from this summer. I've had an interesting summer, and this is a story that kind of sticks out. This is very embarrassing. So I was with my lovely wife in Santa Fe. Her in-laws live there, or my in-laws, her parents, and we always have a great time there. I love that city. It's so relaxing. The problem with that place is every time I go to Santa Fe, I have problems with the elevation. My body takes usually a few days, 2 or 3 days to adjust. Sometimes it kicks in a day or two in. But every time, it's relentless. Without a doubt, it's going to happen. And sometimes we'll go for, more than a few days. But this time, we were just there for the weekend, this little while back. And my body was going through its normal problems with that, and some of those problems include crazy dehydration. Like I just feel like I cannot get enough water, and we had a few drinks on that trip, which did not help. That was probably a bad choice, and basically I had diarrhea of the worst kind for most of that trip. It was just constant and relentless diarrhea. And so knowing where my body was at, I also, besides having drinks when I knew I shouldn't, I also partook in the local flavors. If you're not familiar with New Mexican kind of southwestern food, they smother everything in green chili, and it's so delicious. And I knew I shouldn't be doing that. That's throwing, some fuel to the fire there. But I couldn't resist. It's so good, and, don't get to have it back in Los Angeles. So I just, beat up my body even more, and I got to say it was kind of worth it. And included in those meals, my favorite place there is this place called Tasuki Village Market. It's so great. The best food in the world, I think. And they have this burrito there that is the best burrito I've ever had in my life. And that is saying a lot because I love burritos. And it is smothered in green chili. And whenever we go, I tend to get an extra to go. And on that trip, I got, 2 or 3 extras over the course of 2 days or whatever, because I'm insane. And again, my body is beat up, and I'm having some serious issues, to the point that when we were about to pack up and get ready to go catch our flight, I didn't know if I was going to make it, because the night before I did not sleep. I would wake up and maybe have to shit my brains out 2 to 3 times an hour that whole night. And the more you do that, the more you're dehydrating yourself. So it's just kind of this vicious cycle. So I've barely slept. My body is just miserable. And I wake up, on with the little sleep that I got. And, my wife's like, do you think you can do this? And I'm like, yeah, I mean, I guess, I have to try, but I'm worried I'm going to shit my pants on the plane or whatever. And as she's getting ready, I'm kind of cleaning up around the room we're staying in, packing up, all that stuff. I found one of those to-go burritos that I had forgotten to eat, and it had just been sitting out in the room for probably at least, I would say, 36 hours. It was like from the first night, maybe 48 hours. There's this cold burrito that's just sitting there the whole weekend, and I have just stayed up all night from insane diarrhea, and I stare at that burrito, and I know, like, I should throw this in the trash because, it's been sitting out long enough. That could just be a problem in and of itself. But what do? I just eat it. I go to town. I destroy that burrito. Alone, like a monster, I felt guilty with every bite, but it was so good. It was so good. The devil was tempting me with that burrito, Oh, my God. And so get to the airport, shit my brains out, and but I did make it. I had a shit on the flight, I don't know, a couple hundred times. But, guys, I'm just going to say it was worth it, and I would do it again. I'm not a smart man. I never claimed to be. And that's I guess about it. Getting you caught up in the world, in my little world. If I have diarrhea and there's a burrito in front of me, I'm gonna double down. I don't care. Give me that burrito. I can't resist. All right, let's dive into the meat of this podcast. Unfortunately, Skip Bayless is off this week. So we recorded the first podcast basically a few days ago. So there's only been like a couple shows since then. And on top of that, Skip Bayless has been off. So don't have a ton from this news cycle, but we still will have enough. We're still going to tear into Skip, even though he's away. And honestly, I think he's afraid of me. I think he feels this podcast coming. He's already trembling. But just out of the gates, this is my weekly rant spot, and I just want to passionately, tear into the fact that I am so fucking tired of Skip Bayless and Will Kane being such homers as far as the Dallas Cowboys. I'm just, I again, and I talked about this a little bit last week, but I am a Dallas Cowboys fan. I was born into it. My grandfather was a Cowboys fan. My father, I am a Cowboys fan. I got to enjoy all the 90s Super Bowls when I was a little kid. It was the best. I am an absolute freak for the Dallas Cowboys, but I also know you either love them or you hate them. They're a very polarizing team. And with that being said, because they are such, they're in quotes America's team, I feel like there's a responsibility when you are a fan to know that there's a target on your back, and you have to be a little bit careful with what you say. And I guess with any sports team, like any loyalty you have to whatever team it is, just be real about it. You know what I mean? I'm so tired of fans that are unrealistic, and Skip Bayless and Will Kane are the worst at that. Every year, it's the Cowboys are going to win the Super Bowl. Every year. And look, this year, I am excited. I think it is a good team. I think we have a chance. I think we could maybe put something special together. We have a deep team right now. So this is a year where if you say that, I think we're in the mix. I don't think it's crazy. In the last couple years, actually, like a little bit, although that run we had without Zeke really hurt us. But overall, we've had some strong teams. I'm not 100% on Dak, but that's the thing, though, is it doesn't matter for them. I would imagine, and I want to look into this for a future episode, but I'm wondering if when Quincy Carter and those lean years when he was quarterback, if Skip was still trumpeting that they're going to win the Super Bowl, Quincy Carter, best quarterback of all time. And I mean, that's another thing. Like, I'm so tired of both of them, like, just denying the fact that Ezekiel Elliott is, like, how our offense goes. He is the guy. If we don't have him, it's proven Dak can't fully carry the load on his own. Dak needs it to be perfect. And I hope I'm wrong in the future. I hope Dak develops a little bit better. But I think if we don't see it this year, it's not going to happen. If we don't see a step. But that said, they continually just say, I'm sick of hearing, Dak's the greatest quarterback of all time. They don't quite go that far, but they might as well. Skip Bayless says that Dak Prescott is Brady-esque. That is ridiculous. And look, he wins, but again, it's got to be a perfect setup. And I like his grit. He's got moxie. He'll do some dives head first in the end zone. He tries. He gives it all, but he's not the best quarterback. He's not in the top 10. I don't think at all. And Zeke, he might be the best running back he could be. He's in the conversation for sure. But you just can't say, like, we have the best at everything. It's unrealistic, and it drives me fucking crazy. They make me and the other Cowboys fans look terrible because they have such platforms with, big followings. People are tuning in, listening to them, watching them. It's irresponsible as a Cowboys fan, and I'm fucking tired of it. And I guess that's my rant for now. I'm going to cut it off here for a little bit, and when I start up again, I will have my guest on, David Huntsberger. So we'll dive into that and much more. And I'm back with my guest, David Huntsberger. Last week, at one point, we thought we were recording for about 6 hours. Realized we weren't. We're going to try to not rehash the same shit over and over again like last time.
We were on a good track to end it right where you wanted to be. Yeah. I think close on time. And then because you looked down and went, oh no. And then we checked it and saw, we've got to go redo all of that. I think when you cobbled it back together, it was probably a little longer than you wanted. But, man, it was stimulating chat. We were really proving old Skip
But
inaccurate.
I think when you have to re-record something, like, the gusto is just kind of gone. And you're just, like, pretending to be just as excited about it. But
yeah, because there's a small part of your brain that's like, what did I say before? I think I had some real doozies.
Yeah, you're thinking that way. Plus, like, you're just, like, pretending like it's the first time again, which takes some acting. Anywho, David Huntsberger is back with me. This is kind of like a two-part pilot, I guess. You have, in your own right, a great podcast called Space Cave, where you talk to people much smarter than me.
Smarter than everybody. They're the smartest. It's not like I feel totally comfortable being like, I don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
Because so many times when people are, and some of it's just they're really educated in a subject. Like if you or I were talking to some stranger who'd never seen sports, they'd be like, I don't know those words. It wouldn't necessarily make me feel smarter than them because it's sports. But when it's physics or something and it's definitively you're smarter than me because you know these physics words, I feel like to some degree they feel the same way. They go, this doesn't make me smarter. I'm just more educated in it. So it allows me to not feel like an idiot being like, I don't understand any of the words you just said, and then they explain it. Anyway, it's fine. Thanks for mentioning the podcast.
Of course, man. And I was on with our pal Brian Gutman one time, and we just drank and goofed off, though. It was fun. Not indicative of the normal podcast, but
it's a bit of both. I have a lot of artists on. I feel like scientists delve into exactly how things are made, the world that we live in, and artists interpret and maybe more of the why or something like that.
Yeah.
Anyway, check out Space Cave. What about that Robbie Gould news? Is that what we're here to talk about?
First, I'm going to get you caught up on a story I told up top before you got on. I just want to hear you make fun of me. Off air, I was just talking to David about my favorite restaurant once again, Tesuque Market in Santa Fe, or outside of Santa Fe in Tesuque, and lovely place, great food. And I'll do a very condensed version, but whenever I go to Santa Fe, I have elevation issues, so it takes like a couple days to adjust, and sometimes we're there more than a few days. But if we're there for the weekend, sometimes, like this last time, I was just screwed up the whole weekend.
I get that too. When I was a kid, we hiked up and I spent the entire night. We roasted hot dogs, fun, and then I peed 11 times. I kept having to get up and pee, and I was all dizzy, and it was just...
I get dizzy.
It was awful.
Yeah.
And now it doesn't manifest itself in peeing, but I just feel... Sometimes I throw up.
I didn't know about the peeing thing. That's... I
that
go
was
the other way.
Maybe a kid thing.
I get
something.
dehydrated, so it actually goes the other way where I'm not peeing. But what happened this particular time... I got so dehydrated that I had the worst diarrhea of my life, like the whole trip, basically.
Nice.
And the night before, it was so bad, and I couldn't stop eating the green chili. I was like, no, I can only get this here. So I just kept doing it. So I was piling up on myself. So I was, it was all partially me to blame. But
diarrhea is not like a bad stomach where your body goes, don't eat that.
Yeah.
It's just a bad exit where you're like, we can get more people in this party.
Yeah. Diarrhea party. So the night before, I literally would be up and go to the bathroom like 2 or 3 times per hour to where like I didn't really sleep that night. Maybe like an hour or 2 at the end, solid.
Jesus.
And I wake up. So whenever we go to Tsuge Market, I get these burritos to go. And I'll get one extra in case I'm up late because, like, a lot of times there's not enough, not a ton of food in that house, like because they don't live there full time. Mm-hmm. So there's just enough food. So I'll have like an emergency if I'm starving, something to eat at the end of the night. So I had forgotten as I'm packing up, and Flynn's like, "Can you make this flight?" Like it was that bad. Like I felt terrible, and on no sleep and just still shitting. And I find as I'm cleaning up this burrito that I just forgotten about that had probably been sitting out for 36, 48 hours.
Nice.
And it was cold, and this is after a night of diarrhea. I just went for it. I just fucking ate it.
You didn't even heat it up?
Didn't even heat it up. Because if I heated it up, so everybody in the house knew I had diarrhea. Everybody knew I was not doing well. Yeah. So I heated it up in front of everybody. I was asking questions like, are you sure you should be eating that?
Yeah.
And this is my in-laws. I don't want to be like, what is up with this monster? And instead, I ate it
40. I can handle a couple nights of diarrhea and then eat a 3-day-old burrito.
Yeah, I just ate it like a little squirrel. Flynn came into the room. I didn't want to hear shit from her, so I just covered it up with a blanket. I was just like, nothing here, nothing. It was like I was masturbating. And just like on the flight, we had a couple drinks, which again, not great for diarrhea. But I just, I started laughing. She's like, what are you laughing at? I was like, you want to know something really funny? And I told her the story. And she's like, you fucking idiot. She's like, I don't feel sorry for you anymore. And I was like, nor should you.
Yeah, there's no way. Oh, you poor thing. Wait, you did what? I hope you get more diarrhea.
I guess my question for you is, would you eat a 36-year-old?
Yes. But I don't get a ton of diarrhea. But, I mean, I've had, bad stomach pains and been like, I think I'd better. This is hard to come by. If it's food that I know, I'm not going to get... readily or easily. Yeah, I definitely would.
Thank you. That's some validation. Flynn has to hear this now. And you used to have my favorite shirt ever for sale called Burrito. It just said Burrito Expert.
Yeah.
That's pretty awesome.
Yeah, they ran out of circulation, unfortunately. I wonder if anyone out there still has one. Because it was a certain select group of people that enjoyed it. Some people would see it and be like, yes, that's great. Yeah. A lot of other people would just see it and be like, what does that mean? Yeah. Dude, if you don't get it, dude...
Now let's jump into the big. There's a couple things. You might not know the second one, but first of all, again, you're a big Niners fan. That's your
locked up our kicker.
Yeah, you locked up your kicker. How did you feel about that whole weird holdout anyway?
Man, there was part of me, the relentless optimist that always is in sports, but how many years in a row has it gone where someone that's holding out or doesn't want to sign their franchise tender, they just don't do, you have the Le'Veon Bell thing. Every year there's someone that does it. But I feel like in years past, especially when shut up, boy.
David's dog Cobra is making the strangest sounds I've ever heard come out of a dog. So if you're wondering,
really needs a lot of attention.
That is not a Mogwai. That's Cobra the dog.
So I'm holding out hope that, in my mind, in the back of my mind, it used to be that when that deadline came, sometimes things would happen.
Right.
And then the last few years have conditioned us, if they don't do it at the beginning of free agency, that's kind of it. Players look at it as you're going to franchise me? No way.
Right.
And I think he just gamed it well and played it I'm going away. I informally requested a trade, really. I thought that was kind of... the end of it. So it was I wonder if it's because he's so good, so undeniably good. Some players, they do that sort of thing. Like Antonio Brown, he's very good.
Yeah.
But you start weighing it. What Gould did wasn't nearly as dramatic and or catastrophic to the team, but it was sort of like, dude, if you don't want to be here, and that's kind of what he was saying. But I guess he was just gaming it. I hope if he has any kind of a press conference, he's like, yeah, I mean, this is where I always wanted to be, but I just want to make sure it's the right fit. Who knows?
My brother Weston texted me making fun of it, and I was like, I don't know, man. Kickers are more and more important, I feel. Look at the Bears, who also have to feel so stupid.
They're so stupid.
That Gould is on the Niners. But they're have you heard about their kicking battle this offseason?
With all the silent treatment stuff.
Yeah, it's so strange. It's kind of really entertaining in a weird way, but
Gould got to hit a game winner against the Bears, and
that's great.
He did a Larry Bird, it left his foot, and he just turned and stared at the Bears bench.
That's awesome.
That's got to feel great.
The second part news, I don't know. Do you know who Albert Breer is, the columnist? He's the morning. He took over for Peter King's column or whatever at MMQB. He had an early prediction of a Niners-Colts Super Bowl this year.
Ooh,
that was crazy. I think the Niners.
Wait, cool it. You're being crazy.
He's just excited about the prediction.
You should grab that as a soundbite.
I could see the Niners surprising, but I also wouldn't be shocked. They've had some injury issues and stuff like that.
Singletary year when he came in the interim and coached him to his record was 5-3 after he came in, and then the next year, what did that make? That made them end 8-8, and everyone was like, "Oh, here we go! They got a real coach." And then the first game of the season, they all came out arms locked. All the players, they walked arms locked, we're all in this together. But that was when they had Nate. Oh God, I can see his face. He signed an $80 million deal.
What position?
He was a corner, number 22 for the Niners. He'd come over from either Buffalo or Cincinnati. Oh, God, why can't I think of his name at the top of my head? But anyway, he had signed a huge deal. So they did this thing in ESPN, the magazine, why the Niners are these, they had Vernon Davis, they had Frank Gore, they had Willis, even Alex Smith. They were starting to say, he's going to turn it around. And then Clemens. Nate Clemens.
There you go. I was looking at
Nate was an $80 million corner. They had all the ingredients there, and then they go 6-10.
Yeah.
And it seems like every year that the expectations are high, like last year was.
Yeah.
And granted, Garoppolo got hurt, but whenever there are expectations, and they do it to the Niners a lot.
Yeah.
They always do it. That's why the Harbaugh year was so great in 2011. No one had any expectations, and they were phenomenally good.
Yeah.
And then they just sustained those expectations. So they didn't ever have to. Shanahan really has to overcome a Super Bowl prediction of a 4-12 team. Right. I really hope it happens, but it does seem year in and year out. Come on, let's let him.
I that's the only prediction I've heard of that. I've not heard them as Super Bowl contenders anywhere. I've heard them as a sleeper team.
It could be
you as a Niner fan, do you really think you're a possible Super Bowl contender?
Every team is. I mean, the last to first thing, the parity in the NFL dictates that there will be massive turnover. The teams even Seattle, as much as I hate them, they're able to sustain it. Losing significant percentages or significant amounts of players, and then they overcome it.
Right.
Obviously, New England has. And we know that's because Brady negotiating deals that don't pay as much as everyone else. But to me, it's just a born-in thing. You don't really see a team went 5-11, then 7-9, then they went 11-5, and they lost in the wild card round. Then they went 12-4. You just don't have a window that's 5 or 6 years of building. It's kind of jump in and make a splash right away. And ideally, the Chiefs, if they can do it this year, you got a quarterback that's going to be up for an extension right away since he sat out his first year. I don't know how to do it. I don't know, other than what the Patriots have done. If you get a guy, even if the Chiefs win it this year, which I don't think they will, then he signs a giant deal. They'll never go back to the Super Bowl.
Yep.
And then we'll just see that over and over. But Luck is kind of one of those guys that his money from his first deal has come back down a little.
Yeah.
So he's not – I could see them doing well.
Going back to the last podcast, you need to get a great quarterback that also has a Super Bowl model wife, supermodel wife.
That just understands the game. The money is part of the game.
Right.
If you want to win a lot, then don't cost your team 20% of their salary or more. It's crazy.
Let's dive into my rant up top. I don't know how much you can weigh in on this, but I was just talking about how bothered I am. By the way, Skip Bayless. So since we recorded the last podcast, that was like just a few days ago, basically. And then the weekend, which news cycle-wise for these shows that I'm making fun of, there's nothing on the weekend other than maybe they tweet out something stupid. But so it's really not a huge cycle. Plus, Skip Bayless is taking this week off.
Oh.
I think he is scared of this podcast coming.
He got wind of this son of a gun.
The first one hasn't even dropped yet. He just feels it in his bones.
Feel it, Skip. He knows it.
The Force. But I was just kind of going on this general rant, and part of it because I heard Will Kane say some stuff that we'll get into here in a minute, but I'm just so tired. We talked about this a little bit last time, but again, I feel like I am a Cowboys fan, but a realistic one, and I am just so fucking tired of Skip and Will Kane being like, they hate it when they have guests on that are like, yeah, my team's going to go all the way. And they are relentless and pile on like, you're a homer, it's your home team, like, fuck off. But then they always do that. Like, it's always the Cowboys. And this is a year where I think we could be Super Bowl contenders.
No.
I think we have a deep team. Like, I think...
Not with Jason Garrett.
Yeah.
No chance.
Yeah, that's the thing is, like, if you're going to argue that, this is the best year they've had in the last several years.
Yeah.
But I'm with you. I don't like Jason Garrett, and I'm not 100% on Dak yet. So those two things, those are big ifs. So like,
and Witten coming back, I don't
like that move, man.
It's like going back to a high school party. Then the young crop of new kids is there. They've kind of made the school their own, and then this guy comes back. He's like, "Pass me the keg."
Yeah. I think he's gonna disrupt. Like, our tight ends we had a young dude. What's his name, Jarwin or whatever. He was coming on at the end. Mm-hmm. Now he's going to be second string. Like, let him keep. He was like on this roll.
Nah. I think what'll happen is Witten will pull a hamstring or something like that, or have tightness. When you're older like that, either you're so slow that they have to be like, "Hey, buddy, we know you're a Hall of Famer, but this kid's running circles around you." Right. But if he still has the speed and he's good. Then he'll be good. He never really
has seen Whitney run. We could run faster,
but fast enough for him. Like up to his, that happened with Anquan Bolden. He wasn't fast, but then when a slow guy becomes even slower, you can't do much.
Jason Witten is such a mystery to me because he seriously looks like my grandmother trying to run, and yet he's always open somehow.
Yeah.
Like, he is reliable. I like the guy, but I don't think that was a good move. I don't know, man, but
they will not be in the Super Bowl.
Regardless, I mean,
you just got to get that in your head, man.
I think it's no. I'm not counting on it. That's for. I mean, I think it's probably Patriots.
You're
again.
still holding out like a 2% amount of hope, and that's frustrating.
I'm just saying that's their best argument. But what I'm saying is, it doesn't matter. I bet Skip Bayless during the Quincy Carter years was like, "Oh, we're gonna make it." Like, I just be fucking realistic, and like constantly saying Dak Prescott is like a top 10 quarterback. He's not a top 10 quarterback. No. Jason. I've heard them both argue that Jason Garrett's like a great coach. Like, what the fuck are you thinking?
Can we get into this? Who's good and not good at playing quarterback? Because you really look like Matthew Stafford throws the ball great. He's never had a great organization, never had a great team.
Right.
And you go, oh, he's a low-end guy. You have Cousins that we all go like, oh, what a joke. I can't believe they guaranteed him all that money. He's not clutch. He doesn't win against good teams. How do you definitively, a guy that can move around, like Ryan Fitzpatrick, we sort of know what he is, but he's always kind of like, no matter what team, no matter what he is him.
Yeah.
Some guys are just a product of the system, it seems like. We're like, oh, if they went to another team, they'd be out of the league.
Right.
But because they're here, I can't tell who Dak Prescott is.
Well, I was going to get in that later, but we'll jump in right now. I think I was trying to like go over like, I mean, think about top 10. He's definitely, and this is in no particular order really, but
goodness gracious!
It's like he threw a discus. I mean, but Brady, Rodgers, Breeze is kind of starting to flop a little bit, but Russell Wilson,
even everyone,
Roethlisberger, that's 5 already. Andrew Luck, Mahomes, I guess.
Matt
Ryan, that's 8. Easily.
Rivers
9. I think I have a list of quarterbacks here. Not Jameis Winston. He wouldn't be top 10 for sure.
You threw in Roethlisberger?
Yeah, Roethlisberger. I guess Baker's approaching, if not top 10.
Yeah. There's a whole new crop. It's weird when a year where 3 or 4 quarterbacks will be drafted, and then you go, Josh Allen's not in the conversation, but it's only their second year. That whole group.
Yeah.
So then you have.
I would have Deshaun Watson ahead of him. That's at least 10.
Yeah.
I think Matt Stafford's better for sure. I think Cam Newton for sure. If he stays healthy. Carson Wentz, I think.
The health thing though with Newton.
Yeah, and Wentz, but I think Wentz is better.
Oh, I know what I was going to start to say. As far as quarterbacks falling off, everyone talks about the pass interference, which was egregious and crazy.
Yeah.
But then that sack that Breeze took, that it resulted in the interception, that was a very un-Breeze-like thing, where he kind of double pumped it and then took a shot as he was throwing it. That felt like an old guy move.
Oh, yeah,
At first it was that's not Drew Brees. He's so shifty with his feet in the pocket. It just felt like he was a statue all of a sudden.
Yeah.
Maybe no one's talking about that too much. Was that the moment where Breeze aged out? He'll probably come out on fire for 6 games, and then the same thing as last year.
I think it's duration. After a while, and I'm curious to see if Brady's going to have that same thing. Because they don't have a receiving core, really, right? They got Edelman. He's back, but he's not great.
Yeah. Well, Josh Gordon, if they reinstate him, he's pretty good.
Can't count on that guy. But yeah, I'm looking. Sam Darnold is probably ahead of Dak.
Yeah, that's questionable.
Yeah.
That could go either way. I do think, though, Darnold with
so he's 15-ish.
Yeah.
Probably.
Yeah.
But to argue, Skip Bayless always says he has Brady-esque quality. He says he's Brady-esque, and it's come on, man.
I like when he makes a clutch play, but to me it never feels. Everyone has a different thing that makes them clutch, I guess.
Yeah.
Montana was my favorite clutch guy just as a Niners fan, but it was the scrambling combined with the accurate throw, combined with when you see someone scrambling and they look like they're going, no, as opposed to scrambling just like they're just jogging in the park.
Yeah.
I think Dak has a little bit of that. When he's roaming around back there, he never looks worried. I do like that.
Right. Yeah, no, he's got some winning qualities for sure. And that crazy run he had where he just battered his body and didn't care. And I guess this is all bleeding into the next argument, which is Max Kellerman. Well, this was on Will Cain's show, or him filling in for Stephen A. Smith. He was. This is one thing he loves. Will Cain, racist Will Cain. He loves to bring up Max Kellerman, who is opposite Stephen A. Smith on First Take.
Yeah.
On his radio show, he loves to just pick apart Max Kellerman. It's always Max Kellerman too. He has some sort of obsession or weird.
You're criticizing someone who has an obsession with a person who talks about sports prognostication.
You guessed it. I guess that's my whole show. But he'll just but to me it feels like weird insecurity because they have the same kind of job. Mm-hmm. And he was just brought up Max Kellerman yet again, and Max said, you have to pay Dak now, or if you do pay Dak now, you won't be able to put a good enough team around him. And of course, what's his name? Louis Riddick agreed. Louis Riddick, I feel gets a lot of things right. So if he says something, I'm
he liked AJ Jenkins a ton. And that was the worst draft pick, potentially in 49er history. Yeah. So he's gotten better and better as an evaluator.
Right. He picks good quarterbacks before the draft.
Yeah, he'll get a GM job, right? He'll be the next Mayock.
Yeah. We'll see how the Mayock thing works first.
That's true, yeah.
But yeah, of course, Will Cain disagreed and was just and shat all over that. And I guess this is exactly what we're talking about, though. I just don't think Dak is worth and I know that's just how these quarterback contracts work. Is the next person up for a contract is going to be the richest guy. Mm-hmm. But like you were saying, if you want to win, you have to know that's part of the game. And so did you hear Zeke Elliott is now threatening to sit out training camp and maybe more?
Jeez.
Because he wants to get paid. And I'm wondering if that's because, if Dak's about to get paid, that might take away from my check. Right. Because we have these other guys. And so I'm wondering if that already, to me, to your point earlier, the Cowboys aren't going to the Super Bowl. That could already potentially be a locker room like, you on my team or Dak's team? You know what I mean? Because I think Zeke knows he's the strength of the team, and we go as much as he does. So I could see Zeke and Dak maybe having a rift, and that'd be a real problem. But
when they talk about building a locker room, I don't think us being dudes who've never even been around any sort of organization that was run that way, where like financial statements are a part of it. It'd be so weird if you're in like a writer's room in comedy or something and you knew publicly they were disclosing what every person made nearly every day.
Yeah.
You would just be like, well, I'm not writing that. This guy gets paid legitimately 10 times what I make. You write it. And so we've never had to experience that. And like when they give GMs a lot of credit, like they build a good locker room, they're just those unexpected things that show up like that where sometimes they trade a guy away and they never explain it, but it was like, it was just poisoning the locker room.
Yeah.
I could see that. Or they just resolve it, or maybe they pay them both. I mean, coming off of all the having to meet with the league to see if he's going to get disciplined and then being like, oh, now pay me a ton. Like, dude, you're lucky that you haven't been suspended or gotten like the Leonard Fournette treatment where everyone looks at him
no kidding. I didn't even think about that. That is the thing about Dak. Dak, at least you don't have character issues you have to worry about. But
And I think, like we were talking about with last week on the show, Russell Wilson, they wanted him to throw the game-winning touchdown in that Super Bowl, and then it got picked off. But the organization as a whole, when they go to the owners' meetings, they're all rubbing shoulders. How's your golf game? Did you buy that? Oh, you need that club. Oh, your yacht's only this big. You guys don't even have a franchise quarterback. So then you get one. So you sign one just to say you have it. Our organization's in pretty good shape. We got Dak signed up for $142 million. And then everyone goes, did you need to? Could you have negotiated? Like when they paid Nick Foles in Jacksonville, who were they bidding against?
Right.
But the fact that you don't want your quarterback walking into a room making so much less than other quarterbacks because you're worried that'll mess with his psyche. So they have to be in the $20 million range. Otherwise, it looks like we don't believe in you. We don't trust you. We say we do, but financially we don't show you. So there's all this weird psychology involved in it. And yes, that's how psychology works.
Another callback to last week's show and the Pythagorean theorem. I'm tired. The passion in which Will Kane gets so angry when people argue. It's like as if he's been, they've attempted to assassinate him. Where it's like, dude, I think most of the world knows Dak is just, and he's so passionately. So this spilt into Wentz versus Dak, because he had a caller that was just saying, you put Wentz on the Cowboys, they'll be 16-0 every year. I don't see that.
Oh, for goodness.
Yeah, that was ridiculous all the way around. But I think we would, if Wentz stayed healthy, he would be better. We'd be better. But Will Kane just like shits all over like how there's no way Wentz is better than Dak, and how is everybody, why is the world against him on this? Just be realistic once again. It's
I mean, the Wentz thing, remember last year when it came out very quiet, like it was subtle and it dissipated the locker room stuff, and he acknowledged it. He didn't say like that's crazy. He was like, I get it. Like I need this, or I'm kind of this way. That's just who I am. I'll work on that. I think potentially he is one of these dudes that needs to be kind of coddled. You don't really get that from Dak. Fourth round pick, not expecting much. I feel like he plays and goes about his business in a way that is just like, I'm just going to do my job.
He's a good locker room guy. He has some winning qualities, but I just don't see. But the biggest argument is Wentz had an MVP season going. He would have won that year.
Yeah, but he didn't.
Had he not gone down.
He got hurt. That's part of the game.
But
don't get yourself hurt.
But can Dak say that? I just don't see Dak being in an MVP conversation ever.
You know what he was in, though? More games.
Yeah.
Didn't get himself hurt. It's part of it.
Yeah.
That's why Kevin Kolb not in the league anymore. They gave him that money.
This will be, if Wentz gets injured this year, that's a huge...
Same thing with Garoppolo.
Yeah.
There's really big expectations for these guys that people talk about, but I don't think they really... Until it happens... if Brady had gotten hurt after his ACL, people would have talked about things so much differently. But because that was one anomaly, hopefully that's the case with Wentz. But then there's a back injury.
Right.
So now if you're an athlete, like it's like if you lost one eye, you'd be like, oh, that's crazy. But then you're kind of also thinking like, oh no, I only have one other one to lose. I think the athletes, when that happens, like, okay, I hurt my knee. That was a fluke. I just got sandwiched. I hurt my back. That was weird.
Right.
Now say he hurts his shoulder or something else like Andrew Luck or something, where then that stigma
Mariota
starts to follow. Yeah. So I feel like Dak, that's yet another way where he kept himself healthy, and that's availability is the best ability.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, Dak's consistent, but everything has to be perfect. That's my problem with him is, like, we've had a pretty perfect storm for him, and he still can't get past, like, we can only get so far in the playoffs so far.
Yeah, the throws he misses are the most frustrating as a fan.
Yeah.
Because, even if a guy makes a great throw, say you're down 10 and there's a minute and a half left, and they make a great throw that gets you a field goal.
Yeah.
And now you're trying the onside kick and you're going to throw a Hail Mary. You're excited about that, but then all you're doing is going like, we shouldn't be in this situation. Overthrew that third down pass on the sideline, missed that slant by a mile.
Yeah.
He didn't move the chains on this down, and then this happened, and this happened.
That is the loudest truck I've ever heard in my life. Is that
it's
an
one
ice
of the
cream
few
truck?
ice cream trucks that's run out of like a nuclear submarine engine.
That is intense. It's like very apocalyptic.
Yeah.
And so all of this was like a snowball effect on Will Cain's filling in for Stephen A. Smith. He then was just getting so angry at callers going after his baby boy Dak. It turned into one caller was saying, Dak has to be better, and the NFC East is the weakest division. And Will Cain took a lot of he threw a lot of animosity towards this guy. He was just like, that's insane. But I don't know that it's – I would say AFC East because the Patriots, which probably will win the Super Bowl again, you always have to assume they're in the but, like, looking for the last 20 years, that's been outside of the Patriots. There's nothing in there. Mm-hmm. Some people are saying Jets or Bills as a sleeper team this year. Well, I don't know about that. But
never. Until they win it. I give them no credit. They win the offseason every year. And then they'll have a new GM in 2 years. They'll have a new coach in 4 years. They'll have a new quarterback.
Yep.
They've cycled through this sort of thing for a decade. And yet every year people go, they had a pretty good draft.
Right.
I like this new combo of coach and GM. Enough.
Yeah.
Not the Jets and the Bills. Not until they do it.
So I would think that's the worst division, but to laugh at it like it's an insane thing to say, it's not. The Redskins and Giants are nothing. Like, they're not a threat. So, and the Eagles and Cowboys, some people think, are both contenders.
You watch Washington do better than people expect. The defense is good. Jay Gruden is a good offensive coach. They shouldn't have even been remotely competitive last year after losing Alex Smith, and they AP had 1,100 yards or something like that. They were well better than expectations. You lose Geis, is that how you say his name? Darius Geis?
Yeah, Darius Geis.
He's phenomenal. If he comes back and he's good, him and AP, and then if Haskins is even decent, they're okay. Case Keenum can man the ship. I think I wouldn't sleep on them.
Yeah,
they have some stability finally in the Snyder tenure.
There's always something with that organization. It's like the Lions are.
They're cursed. Get rid of the name.
Yeah,
you deserve the curse.
Fucking name. But where do you feel like the NFC East? I don't think it's laughable. I think it's down there. I don't think it's like a great. Just because two teams are competing heavily, that doesn't make I would say NFC.
I think they're all
South
the same.
Pretty,
There's so much parity. You could go to. There's no division that has 4 awful teams, which maybe 5 or 6 years ago you could say that. Especially 10, 12 years ago, you're like, oh god. I remember when the NFC West was absolutely dreadful.
Yeah.
And then it just shifts and stuff. Now it feels like everything's pretty balanced out. The AFC West seems like it's going to be so good. Even if the Raiders are awful and Denver is awful, there's still two
Chargers
really
and
good
Kansas
teams.
City, for sure.
Yeah, so you could kind of go division by division and be like, well, they're pretty good. They're pretty good. I think for sure Philadelphia will be in the equation if Wentz stays healthy. Dallas, pretty good. So I think you even have a third team potentially with Washington that everyone's going to sleep on. And then I would expect the Giants to be 4th.
Right.
So, those top 3, though, I'll bet Washington will win a game or two or be in the playoff hunt later than people expect.
Right.
But I was going to say win a game or two that no one gives them a chance in, which is so crazy in the NFL. Any week, anything can happen.
AFC
but I
South
think they
has
could be decent.
Colts, Texans. I think the Jaguars could have a bounce back.
Nah. Foles, God bless him, but I watched him when he was with the Rams. I mean, I think when you go to an organization...
That was, what's his name? Jeff Fisher, greatest coach of all time. God, let's just have a podcast about Jeff Fisher.
But that's the Ryan Fitzpatrick thing. You have to transcend or overcome wherever you go. You're kind of your own brand, so you can't lock into like, we're doing a dig route, and if it's not open, just take a crushing sack.
Right.
You got to be Ryan Fitzpatrick and be like, as your guys leaving the huddle, like, dude, hey, if that dig route's not open, I want you to swing out in the flat, and then you hit your running back.
Yeah. I feel like Foles, too, like when he was on the Eagles, it was always, there's no pressure. When you don't have any pressure on your back, like...
To win a Super Bowl? Come on, man. And if Alshon Jeffrey catches that ball last year, they're still playing. I know what you're saying, but like...
I feel like you're the backup. If you lose, you're expected to lose. So it's like...
If you can go into the...
playing free. And the way... what's his name? What's that coach? Doug...
Peterson?
Yeah, Doug Peterson. The way he game planned for Foles was like so much different than Wentz.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I think if you can put up with the pressure of being in a Super Bowl, you can put up with the pressure of Jacksonville where there is no pressure.
Yeah,
they never win.
Yeah. Talk about no pressure. Good God.
I really root for him, though. I mean, who doesn't? Like, Nick Foles seems like a down-to-earth...
He has a huge penis.
What?
You heard that?
No.
It's just, I guess I think there's an Austin comic. I would love to give him credit, but there's an Austin comic that talks about, I think he's seen it, and it's supposed to be a big one. He has a funny story. I'll get back to you on that.
Yeah.
It's a weird tease about Nick Foles' penis.
Please
what if I'm
get
just
to the source
that
of that.
Why would I make that up?
Maybe you dreamed it.
Mad? Yeah,
it sounds like a dream.
Always dreaming about Nick Foles' penis. Let's move on. I'm going to leave this last of these rants. I'm going to give you an ability to decide it here.
Okay.
These are just to keep Skip Bayless alive, even though he's got the week off.
Yeah.
I just want to go to another one of his older arguments. Would you either like to talk about his stupid Terrell Owens argument or Sean Lee?
Oh, Niners guy. I got to go T.O.
T.O. So how do you feel about Skip Bayless? One of his biggest things is that he did not want Terrell Owens to be in the Hall of Fame because he absolutely doesn't deserve it.
That's because he stood on the star?
Yep.
The only argument,
he calls him TO stands for Team Obliterator.
That's clever. That's
he's very funny.
He's in his 60s, you say?
Yeah, I think so, late 60s.
Team Obliterator.
Yeah.
Goodness gracious. I have a buddy that, and I think like the way TO kind of left the Niners, a lot of people had, even back then, sort of an awareness of potentially some mental health issues, whether that was bipolar or whatever.
I think so for sure.
And so there's always, I feel like from the Bay Area fans, been a bit of empathy of like, he was like had this crazy narcissism, and he could be a real bother in the locker room, and he was this and that and whatever else. I think his teammates overall liked him. I guess we'll never know that, but it did seem like most people supported him, But that was the main deterrent for most people with the Hall of Fame argument.
Right.
Like, he was such a distraction and his teams didn't win, but he gave everything he had. He went in that hyperbaric chamber when he was with the Eagles.
Yeah.
And did all that crazy. He shouldn't have played. He had a broken ankle and he played.
Yep.
And just his numbers alone, you have to make
isn't he like 2 in every category?
Yeah.
Pretty like that's so insane to me that like just because you don't like a guy and he was a distraction, he's like that's not what the Hall of Fame is. It is about numbers, and it is about like wins and all that. And like
the people that are in, Joe Namath career numbers are just terrible, but he's synonymous with big moments in the game and the history of the game. Even Lynn Swann doesn't have like that long of a career, if I'm remembering correctly. Compare his numbers to T.O., and it's just asinine to unless you have specific parameters lined out in the Hall of Fame that just say, look, this doctrine is as old as the Hall of Fame itself. Here are the criteria. You can't have ever been suspended for a game. What? Yeah, no performance-enhancing drugs, or you're not in the Hall of Fame. If it was that strict, then I'd go, T.O., like, he did break that protocol at one time, so that's a shame.
Yeah.
And maybe players would take that into consideration if there was like here are the absolute criteria. Yes, it's subjective. We're going to vote on you. But if it were just numbers and you fed it into a computer, every computer in the world would go, Hall of Fame.
Yeah. This is kind of like we were talking a lot about like Kawhi Leonard. It'd be if, years down the line, Kawhi Leonard quit on my team. Can't go in the Hall of Fame. But he dominated. Nope, doesn't matter.
He won championships with, 3, 4, who knows how many teams he's not done yet.
One of the greatest two-way players of all time. Doesn't matter. I don't like him. He's a mean guy. He quit on my team.
He didn't play through a thigh injury for me specifically.
Yeah, that's just what this all feels like. I wonder if he was mean to Skip when he was on the Cowboys or something and hurt Skip's feelings so that he's just out for him. And they've had him on the show and stuff. And, man, one of my favorite things is when any of these guys have someone that they've talked shit about constantly. When they're on the show, they're just so nice. And they're just like, they can't ask them the tough questions. Or, like, they'll dive into an argument and, like, try to be tough, shoot it down quickly, and they're like, okay. And it's just, it's so good to watch that. Just the tag on the Sean Lee thing for a second. He always would argue that the Cowboys, had they had Sean Lee healthy, dude, he was never healthy. You can't use that as that was his crutch.
It's the Dak thing. It's the exact same thing. He stays healthy. And granted, it's much easier for quarterbacks, but look at Cam Newton. You know, if you run around like Dak does, like some of these dudes, like Steve Young, I mean, he got knocked out of the game, and he was scrambly.
Yeah. But that argument drove me nuts. Like, had we had Sean Lee? And it's like, but that he's always, I don't know if he's ever played a full season, ever. And that's why, like, this year will be good for him because he's, like, a backup. Like, he can just do spot duty. That's great. That's ideal.
Like the Bears being like, if we just had Kevin White.
Yeah. He's on the Cardinals now.
And I hope he picks it up. I really liked him coming out. How can you not root for like all these players that didn't abuse a woman in any way, that didn't harm a child or get a DUI? If that's that's my criteria for getting into me rooting for you.
Yeah.
Kevin White
that was another
meets
thing
that.
about T.O. He never did any of that kind of stuff.
No.
Like he did some stupid stuff, but again, I think there's some bipolar or something going on. He had a really messed up background, I think.
The Standing on the Star is funny.
Yeah, I loved it.
It's sports, it's entertainment,
Dude,
you had popcorn and all that.
It pissed me off, but it's also like, hey, that's good. Again, a realistic fan, this guy. It's like, yeah, that pissed me off, but it's like, hey, man, I think that's awesome.
What's weird about that? Like, the Cowboys fans watching that going like,
yeah.
But the Niners were the classy organization. We were, even though Eddie DeBartolo Jr., bless him, got caught up in some insider trading type stuff with the gaming and all that. Everyone still feels like he was an absolute prince of a human being. I still feel that way. So there was this element of class associated with an organization. So when he did that, Niners fans were also like, no.
Yeah.
That's like flipping your bat or whatever you'd liken it to.
Whatever you can't even Skip has to say that he kept it he kept it fun. Like he was he was a maniac.
Yeah.
He's fun to watch.
It's forgivable.
He dropped a lot of passes, though.
That's what's crazy when you look at his numbers. Like, he probably dropped a pass a game. But he was so good, there'd be deep routes.
He would have doubled Jerry Rice's numbers and receptions had he caught all his passes.
It would be like, and I feel like they did this accurately in the Madden games back then, where he would be 10 yards open down the field, drop it. You could run the exact same play. And this is kind of like real life. They would go right back to him, 10 yards open again, and this time he'd catch it and go in and think, okay, there you go.
Moving on to Prick Picks. This is usually where I have I point out Skip Bayless or Will Kane or whoever and their picks, but again, it's kind of a weird news cycle. We had the weekend skips off, so there's not like really anybody picking. So I thought we could do this because you're going to be a frequent guest. I just thought we could pick division winners and then we could revisit it later.
Oh yeah,
we were kind of talking about this earlier.
Yeah, we did. Let's write them down.
Yeah. Here we go. So this is, I guess, we'll be the pricks this week. We'll just start with let's start with your division.
Okay.
NFC West.
I'm going Niners as a homer. I think the Rams fall back a little bit with Gurley's health.
You're going Niners to win the division.
Yeah, I have to.
Okay, gotcha.
I mean, if they looked like it was going to be terrible, I wouldn't pick them. But there's some
hope.
There's potential energy there.
Yeah.
They're a keg of dynamite, and if it blows up just right, it'll be fantastic. I like everything they've got going, but that's as a true homer. I don't know what team would say we have no chance. I think even Arizona fans would be like, Kyler Murray has won at every level. He's phenomenal. He's great. But I think it'll take a year for them to get clicking, I suppose, and just too many missing pieces around him, even though they do have David Johnson and stuff. So I could go into this whole division too long. But just briefly, I think Seattle paying Russell Wilson and losing the guys they lost. Doug Baldwin's a big departure. And I think the Rams with Gurley being hurt, and no one's paying enough attention to this, their offense significantly faltered after Cooper Kupp's ACL. He's their possession guy.
Yeah.
Robert Woods is really good, but he's not quite what Cooper Kupp gives him.
Cooper's back though, right?
He'll be back because it was an ACL, but is he going to be the same?
Yeah. Like Carson Wentz this past year, he had an okay year, but I think it was still like that 1 year back.
Right.
I think he's going to have, if he can stay healthy, we'll see. But I'm going Rams, dude.
Okay.
I think
feel like
they're going to
most people are
overcome it.
going to,
But I won't be shocked if it's the Niners. But yeah, I think Rams and Niners. I think Seattle would be third. And then,
Aqib Talib is getting older.
Yeah, that's true.
That defense, they haven't allocated a ton of
resources. They got a couple pickups, though.
Yeah.
I can't remember who. I love the Eric Weddle signing. I love that dude. He's older, but he's still.
Yeah, he's good.
Yeah. I like that guy. Okay, where do you want to go next? NFC Central?
Let's just do the whole NFC, yeah.
Central. Who do you got?
Central. Who's in the Central?
Packers, Vikings.
Oh, that's the North.
You're right. Wait. Okay, let's just go north then.
It's west, north, south, and east.
Yeah. Let's go north.
Central. Jesus
Didn't
Christ.
it used to? It was.
You do a sports podcast, for God's sake.
Sorry.
The North. Okay.
It used to be. I think they were the Central, like way back when I was a kid. That's a tough one.
That is really tough. I don't know that I have.
I'm going to go Vikings, I think.
That was when I was going to say.
Back.
No way. Cousins never. I'm a never Cousins guy.
Yeah, I just remembered Cousins.
I'm a never Cousins guy. I'd love to see Stafford finally do it, but I think.
Or Bears.
Yeah. Luckily, I wish we were picking the whole run, but we'll just do winners. We should put an asterisk next to this one that we were not confident.
So hard.
This is tough. I'm going to say Bears.
Okay, that's a good pick. Yeah, I think it would be a coin toss between. I think the Packers are going to have some growing pains with the new coach, and Rodgers is starting to get injury prone as well.
He had a couple passes last year that were critical that hit the dirt, and he would go, it just stuck to my hand.
Yeah,
things like that. Where you're like, you've thrown the ball potentially 1,000,000 times in your life. What? It stuck to your hand in a big moment? That was just weird. So, yeah, maybe these guys that we're so used to seeing are graduating, and they're just clinging. They got their hair plugs and their back braces, and they're just clinging to their youth. Okay.
What about the NFC South?
NFC South, I'm going to say... I'm going to stick with the Saints until Breeze falls off a cliff.
I'm going to go Atlanta. I think they're going to come back this year.
Nice.
That is a tough one, too, because it is, if Breeze stays healthy, they've got a good team, but I have a weird feeling about Breeze. Mm-hmm. Is that the whole NFC?
No, the East. Your guys.
East. Oh, God.
I'm going to say Philadelphia.
Not a bad pick, but I'm going Cowboys. And that's not just me being Will Kane or Skip Bayless. I think it is a coin toss between those two guys. Mm-hmm. But also, there's no Nick Foles if Wentz goes down. So there's that.
Yeah, that's true. And I really should have stuck to my guns and said Washington. What a dark horse team.
Ooh.
But I just don't want them to succeed until they change that name.
Yeah. I fucking hate that name. Let's go AFC West. On to the AFC.
I'm going the Los Angeles Chargers.
Yeah, it's still hard to call.
Although Gordon might sit out, they got all that.
I know. I also
think,
forgot about the Cowboys. Zeke could sit out. That changes everything there. But
I don't think the Chiefs sustain it.
Yeah, I could see that. I think you're right. I don't think they're gonna. I think they'll be competitive, but I don't think they're gonna. I think the Chargers maybe do it, at least win the division this year. Mm-hmm. AFC North, this is a tricky one.
Yeah.
I'm going to go
Cleveland.
Steelers. You're going Cleveland?
Yeah.
I think they're too combustible. But, I mean, the Steelers are too, man. They have these years where they just don't get their shit together.
Yeah.
And it will be interesting. if they are combustible this year, Roethlisberger can't blame it on it. Like, it will be definitively, no, you're the asshole, just like everybody fucking knew.
I really wanted the Niners to draft Juju, and
God,
I think he's good, but I don't know if he's a number one yet.
Yeah. But they're good at developing receivers. AFC South.
Okay.
Ooh, Colts or Texans.
Yeah,
everybody's picking the Colts, but yeah, actually, I think I'm going to go Colts as well. But I could see the Texans, but I feel like they always have one problem or another.
I do too. I'm going to go Colts just because I like them more. I like Frank Reich. I love Deshaun Watson, though. But,
I know, I like him a lot.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I don't know about that coach, man. There's always a problem there. AFC East, although he is so far the best Bill Belichick disciple that's
true.
Been all right. AFC East. Oh, yeah. Well,
Dolphins
Patriots.
out, obviously. Yeah. Let's see. Is there any chance? Yeah, good Lord.
It's weird. I'm seeing the Jets as a sleeper. I don't see that at all. So we'll see.
Patriots there.
We'll revisit that
we get
down
all
the
four?
line.
Okay.
Yeah. We got all our...
They're going to be so wrong.
Yeah. and that's the exciting thing about the NFL is, like, the Lions did pull it off somehow. You just don't know. Dive into... We're going to change the segment because you made fun of me a lot the last time. We are going to go to Twitter, but I just want to read the best of kind of the trolls that are beating up on these guys. Somebody wrote at Jason Whitlock, Whitlock looks like a grandma. Do you know what Jason Whitlock looks like? Mm-hmm. Yeah. He's a sharp-looking guy.
This segment's called Trolls Night Out. Trolls Night Out.
But he's like saying he looks like a grandma, which, not that big of a dig, but Whitlock wrote back, I literally look exactly like my grandmother on my father's side. Kind of spooky. I just thought it was so weird that he, disarmed it in a weird, no, you're right. I do look... And then...
That's pretty progressive, disarming sort of the toxic masculinity, which is, kind of an overused term. But to be like, yeah, I do look like my grandmother.
Yeah. But my favorite thing that happens, last couple of days, Skip announced, Shannon and I are on vacation this week, but I will be in touch. And people just saying stuff like, when have you ever been in touch? That kind of thing. And but you go down, all the reactions are, just people, you left Ernestine at home. You should read
the trolls' names.
Oh, yeah. Ernestine Bayless, we talked about that last week. She said, actually, I'm with LeBron tonight, hon. And so she would just keep chiming in with, the guys she was fucking or whatever. But, Dan Jansen, D_Jansen, or _D Jansen.
The skater?
Said, you are anything but in touch. Just most of the people, like this guy, Horford Hype, he wrote, please never come back. That was 90% of them. But it was funny, there was this one that I found where this guy stood up for him. And, oh, man. But I looked at, I can't find that tweet right now, but it's called Kip's Labassi, which I think is got the word Skip Bayless in it.
Oh, that makes sense, yeah.
And it says Prescott fan, Dallas Cowboys fan, and a huge Skip Bayless supporter. No picture, just a Prescott thing.
That's got to be Skip.
I think it's Skip Bayless for sure. And he's just like, oh, you enjoy your vacation. Have a great time. We'll miss you kind of a thing. And he's just like, what? There's no way that's real. But
that's hilarious.
It's always a fun time to just go through the Twitter ads and just most of it for sure is just yay, best news I've heard in months. Take your time. Thank God. Stay there. That's okay. Skip, just enjoy your vacation. Oh, that's a positive one. I just love... tag team ritual suicide while on vacation. One can dream.
Good Lord.
Yeah, that's a little... I don't like when people, go into death threats. There's no... But still kind of funny. And then people are saying how they're going to do it. Jump into a volcano. Anyway, I love reading these trolls trolling the trolls. I guess we can end again with a little bit of... Let's talk about Skip's sex life. What do you think that's like?
This is worrying me, Dougie. You're too deep in this guy.
What do you think is marriage is like though? Seriously, Do you think there's any love there? Do you think it's real?
With Ernestine, I'm just learning of it. I guess I'm still holding out hope.
Do you think that guy's capable of love?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, he's a sports fan. Are there pictures of him in his home? Likely, but I hope not.
See, these are kind of details I want, though. I could see that. There's just how much of their house is her decor versus Cowboys paraphernalia or Skip Bayless awards that he's won.
It seems likely to me that there is a gym that involves resistance band stuff, but also like one of those old things that you would find in like an early fitness center where they're like all chrome and everything comes off. There's a central thing with all the weights where they're like on cords. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, like
and then
Solo Flex?
kind of like a Solo Flex, but like maybe they still have these in gyms. So you could do like leg lifts, then you could lay down on the bench, then you could turn around and do like a shoulder pull, or you could turn around and then do a shoulder press. You got like all these. You could do band stuff where you're like rowing, standing and rowing.
Yeah.
I feel like that with a lot of mirrors and a picture of himself flexing, but he would tell you and Ernestine would tell you that's because he wants to remember how he used to be able to get fit, and he wants to use that as a motivation. So you and I would walk in there and be like, good Lord. I mean, he'd be like, there'd be kind of this, not sweet and not even acceptable, but reasonable, like explanation for why it's there. So that exists. Then there's probably a room with like candles, maybe where she does some yoga. And then their bedroom, it's probably pictures with him and famous people, particularly cowboys.
Yeah, and they all hate him.
Yeah.
It's him, and there's a cowboy 30 feet away from him.
Yeah.
But he's posing like, huh?
And then her side is all like the farm that her parents grew up on. It's very sweet.
Yeah. I think she puts on a Tom Brady mask when they make love. I think there's all sorts of Tom Brady and Michael Jordan stuff all around, so he can get in the mood.
Yeah.
I think he talks about him, the way he talks about Tom Brady. There was one, oh man, I wish I could play the clip, but they were talking about Tom Brady and how he was dressed somewhere, and Skip was like, he looked good. But it was like scary. It was weird. It was like, dude, you're way into this is getting bizarre. But and he kept coming back to it. He's just like, did you see how good he looked? And it's like, yeah, you keep saying that. It's kind of weird. But,
move along, Skip.
Well, hey, man, before I let you go, funny story. And, I guess we're doing the same plugs pretty much. First of all, check out David Huntsberger's podcast, Space Cave. And you got the Junk Show.
Junk Show here in LA once a month. And then my stand-up special, One-Headed Beast, is on Amazon Prime to stream. Don't know how you feel about Amazon Prime. I fully understand all the atrocities associated with that, but it is the only place where you can see it, so I'm thankful that it at least exists somewhere. All of the ethical companies, they had no interest, so it's only the evil monsters willing to show it. I hope that's not the case. And then a bunch of stand-up dates coming up. DavidHuntsberger.com. If you're in Denver, please come out August 3rd, but otherwise Austin, Houston, Boise, San Francisco, Sacramento, Watertown, South Dakota, I'm excited about, and Minneapolis.
Yeah, it's funny because, and I don't know if this will be out before, because it's the second episode. I don't know if it'll be out before or not. I'll try it before Houston, but it was funny because the last episode, we both were plugging our shows at Secret Group in Houston, which is a great venue, and unbeknownst to us, we're both performing on the same night in Houston. I'm opening for you one night, and I'm headlining another show that weekend.
So Dougie fans, you should come to both. If you come to one, then say, hey, I'm coming to the other one. We'll give you like a ticket to get back in.
Yeah, man. So come on out, and and then I'll be, got Boulder coming up early August, I think the 4th. Coming up, we got Orlando early August, going to Detroit a little ways out. I'm doing a Santa Fe Comedy Festival September. Anyway, just find me at Doug Millard. And thanks again, David. That was really fun.
Sure thing, buddy.
We learned a lot.
Go Nines.
Yeah, nope. Go Cowboys. Sometimes it's hard to say. I hate Jerry Jones so much. All right. Keep listening. Rate. Subscribe. All that stuff. We love you. Later.